once had a dental appointment that lasted 3 times longer than it should have. Not because I had a cavity or needed orthodontia, but because I mentioned to my dentist that I was studying youth sport in grad school. So while he was acting as my dentist, I was acting as his therapist, though I was the one laying down. As my dentist was sharing his experiences as a youth sport dad, he got really animated and started talking with his hands. And you know that little hook that dentists use to make your gums bleed? Well, I consider myself lucky that I still have 2 eyes. What really got him going was that his youngest son told him that he wanted to play soccer instead of baseball. And after strongly hinting at his former prowess as a baseball player, my dentist said, and I quote, "I know he doesn't really want to play soccer. He's just saying that because his friends play soccer." So taking my dentist's word for it, his son wanted to play soccer so that he could play with his friends. But my dentist apparently didn't think that this social motive was a valid reason for choosing a particular sport. Children's motives to participate in organized sport aren't always the motives that adults think motivate children. And we actually know quite a bit about why children participate in youth sport and why they quit youth sport. And one of the best summaries of these findings can be found in the Carnegie Report written by Seefeld, Ewing, and Walk in the early 1990s. They found that boys play sports to go to a higher level of competition, play as part of a team, learn new skills, to get exercise, for the challenge of competition, to stay in shape, for the excitement of competition, to improve their skills, and to do something they're good at. The motives of girls are similar, but on average, girls tend to rank their priorities a little differently. So girls play sports for the challenge of competition, to make new friends, to play as part of a team, for the excitement of competition, to learn new skills, to do something they're good at, to improve their skills, to get exercise, and to stay in shape. But the number one reason that both boys and girls participate in organized youth sports is to have fun. When children are asked to identify how important each of these reasons are in motivating them to participate in organized youth sports, to win didn't even make the top 10. So although children do play to win, there are several other things that are more important to them. When asked why they quit youth sport, boys indicated that there is too much pressure, they needed more time to study, they were more interested in other activities, there was too much emphasis on winning, they were tired of playing, the coach was a poor teacher, the coach played favorites, the sport took too much of their time, it was no longer fun, and they were no longer interested. When asked why they quit youth sports, girls indicated that they could not attend games and practices, they were tired of playing, the coach played favorites, the sport took too much time, they were more interested in other activities, the coach was a poor teacher, there was too much pressure, they needed more time to study, it was no longer fun, and they were no longer interested. In the United States, participation in organized youth sports peaks around age 13. Some kids start as young as 3, 4, 5 years old, and participation increases into the tween years, but then starts to dwindle off. A perceived lack of time is one theme that emerged from this data. And if you look at several items like the sport took too much time, I needed more time to study, I was more interested in other activities, and I could not attend games and practices, each of these items are related to the reality that time is a limited resource. In the area of the United States where I grew up, it is not uncommon for kids to be overscheduled. After school, many kids go from one sport practice to another, then swim lessons and piano recitals. So I found some interesting results when I asked a few dozen 3 to 14-year-olds the following question. If you had to choose, would you rather participate in organized youth sport programs that have a coach and uniforms and a schedule, or would you rather just play with your friends and your family around your neighborhood? The youngest kids, 3, 4, 5 years old, usually said that they would prefer organized sports. Whereas the kids who were a little bit older, 8, 9, 10 years old, usually said that they would choose to play with their friends. And the oldest kids, the 13 and 14-year-olds, didn't even understand the question. It turned out that the blank look on their faces was due to the reality that they had been so overscheduled for so long that they had forgotten what it was like to participate in sandlot sports with kids in their neighborhood. And one 14-year-old girl explained that it was a trick question because she wouldn't have anyone to play with even if she wanted to, because all of her friends would be at organized activities. So lack of time is one reason why children quit sports, but it isn't necessarily the most important reason. What stands out to me are the top 2 reasons. I was no longer interested, and it was no longer fun. These reasons are pretty vague and beg the questions, why were they no longer interested, and why was it no longer fun? I believe the deeper reasons may have a lot to do with adult involvement in youth sport. Kids overwhelmingly want their parents to attend their games, but when asked how parents usually behave at their games, and how they wish parents would behave, there is a gap. Rather than acting like supportive parents, adults sometimes act like crazed fans, demanding coaches, and distracted spectators. And when parents scream at the coaches or referees, children get uncomfortable. Even as infants, humans show a physiological response to angry vocalizations, even if the conflict does not involve them. Think about the last time you were present when one person screamed in anger at another person. You probably felt pretty uncomfortable. Now imagine if that happened regularly in a particular context, say your baseball games. Would you be more or less likely to want to play baseball? Many of our decisions in life are not carefully calculated rational choices. As a philosophy major, I learned how to dissect ideas and assess the soundness and validity and cogency of arguments. And I thought I was learning how people think, but I later realized that people aren't always that rational. If they were, political debates would actually be debates, where politicians would develop and submit arguments, or a connected series of statements intended to establish a proposition to find the best way, rather than resort to personal attacks, emotional appeals, and cynical prevarications to get their way. Oftentimes our big decisions, who to date, who to marry, who to vote for, where to live, are emotional. And our smaller decisions are emotional as well, including our buying decisions. We buy brands because of the way that those brands make us feel. And that is why corporations spend billions in advertising to make us feel in a way that will increase the probability that we will purchase their goods or services. In youth sport, we aren't always as intentional about making sure our kids have great experiences that make them want to come back for more. When boys and girls who had quit organized youth sport programs were asked, what would it take for you to come back and participate again? The most common reasons for both boys and girls was, I would come back if practices were more fun. See a trend here? Kids play sports to have fun. They quit sports if they were no longer fun, and they say they would come back if practices were more fun. Fun is really important to youth sports, especially at the younger ages. A youth sport coach should be a facilitator of fun. When they succeed, the kids keep playing, but if they don't have a good experience, the kids are likely to find something else to do with their time. Fun isn't a rational thing. Fun is emotional. When kids say they have fun playing youth sports, they're talking about experiencing joy, happiness, excitement. If you're a youth sport coach and you're not sure how to make practices more fun, check out the Taught Games video, which describes a games approach to teaching sports skills to children at a very young age. Children also said that they would participate in organized youth sports again if the coaches understood the children better. And this points to the importance of relationships. It's really hard to understand the children better if you don't know them as individuals. But if you have really good relationships with each of your players, everything becomes easier. Coaches who have really solid relationships with each of their players don't have players quit because they felt that the coach didn't understand them. And they don't waste practice time using exercise as punishment in a misguided effort to motivate their players, not realizing that all they're doing is destroying motivation by destroying relationships. And relationships are really important in youth sport, not just the coach-athlete relationships, but the relationships among the athletes. Remember that 2 of the reasons that kids participate in organized youth sport programs are to be part of a team and to make new friends. But around 5 years old, making friends becomes the key developmental task for children. And building relationships and being part of the tribe, so to speak, are critical during adolescence and the sorts of much drama in middle schools everywhere. When teenagers don't feel like they fit in somewhere, they're vulnerable, and bad people find it easy to recruit them to do bad things. And for better or worse, children will do everything they can to find a place where they feel like they fit in. And if they don't find a good environment like a sports team or a dance company, they'll find a not so good environment. We all long to be part of the tribe because relationships are a basic human need. Just as humans thirst for water, they long to feel connected to others. So with all that in mind, it makes sense why my dentist's son was attracted to a soccer team that his friends played for, rather than a baseball team that my dentist wished he played for.